And what we're really finding is that, again, this is after dozens of meetings with people analytics professionals, that they're really in a bind. They know they can impact business key performance indicators, things like productivity, for example, but they often lack the right type of data and they don't have the tools. And so specifically, they want to act proactively, but they're really burdened with reactive data. They want to provide actionable insights and engage leadership, but oftentimes don't have the right resources. And finally, they just want to be recognized for their efforts, right? They want visibility, but find it really challenging to prove their value to the business. In terms of people analytics, there's just a unique opportunity to have really profound impact on their respective companies, both in terms of top line growth, bottom line expenses, and of course, profitability. For example, just taking a look at addressable critical employee attrition for large enterprises, that runs around $10 million plus for every several thousand employees. And for example, our customers are finding that there's roughly 100 full-time equivalents of lost productivity for every 1,000 employees. And that's due to employees spending way too much time in unnecessary meetings. So there are so many opportunities just like that to unlock value. Yeah, really at a high level, what we're doing is we're helping to unify talent insights with business impact, again, and finding those correlations between the two. And by so doing, we're really helping people analytics professionals have really an undeniable, irrefutable impact on their business. And particularly now, in these uncertain, turbulent, and lean times, I think the opportunity to optimize right now to basically figure out how to re-engage, the 2/3 of our employees that aren't engaged is really unprecedented. So I'll give you sort of 3 examples. The first is a large service company that was trying to determine whether they should continue to invest in their customer support organization, but they needed to understand in advance whether they would see a return. So with Praisidio, the people analytics team was able to directly correlate longer customer support executive staff tenure with faster defect resolution of customer issues, and basically correlate that to an outsized impact on customer experience. And most importantly, one of their key KPIs, net promoter score. So they're able to actually boost their net promoter score by investing in that particular organization. They wouldn't have known that without doing that analysis. Okay. Second example is from the life sciences industry, where this particular company needed to identify and solve a problem that they noticed between retention disparities between managers. In fact, it was significant. Some managers had very high retention, others quite low. And with Praisidio, they were able to really drill down and determine the root cause of the problem, which was disconnection, and revealed that the employees that had the high risk of attrition had 75% fewer meetings with their leadership. So they're able to turn this around and increase manager one-on-ones, skip all the meetings with leadership, and ultimately we're able to improve employee retention by over 20%. The third example is from the tech world, and this particular company had implemented Praisidio in a critical development organization, about 1,000 or so developers. And what they determined was that there was a deficit of maker time, meaning these developers are spending way too much time in meetings. In fact, they were able to determine that there were about 100 FTEs worth of maker time that was available to them. They were able to free this up, which improved development capacity by more than 10%. It reduced burnout, it improved retention, and most importantly, unleashed this wave of productivity, so much so that for the first time ever, all their projects were on time, right? So because they've been able to free up this latent capacity in their organization, they were able to put that to good work and get projects delivered to basically make the top line, which is an incredible impact. Talent intelligence solutions like Praisidio subsist on data. Specifically, we need 2 things. One, we need HR data, but we also need business data. So examples of HR data are data from HCM systems like Workday or SAP SuccessFactors, Oracle, ADP, and so forth. And we combine that with, again, you don't need very many systems, a couple of systems here, with systems like Office or G Suite or Salesforce or ServiceNow development systems like Jira or Confluence. And so by basically unifying HR data and business data, we're able to provide these insights such that you can provide early proactive recommendations to improve employee performance and retention. For example, to improve Salesforce productivity, pulling in basically achievement of goal data, for example, or performance data, right? And then layering that against this talent data. That's really where the incredible insights actually emanate from. Examples of reactive activities are based on lagging indicators. So probably the canonical example of that are surveys, which are employee surveys are really useful. You're able to capture the employee voice, right? Or exit interviews. But again, they're lagging indicators, and it really sort of encourage this reactive way of working. Our approach is to basically sort of flip this around and figure out like how do you become proactive, and providing data like things like manager one-on-one data, connection data, maker time data, productivity data. That again allows or enables leaders to act in time, right, to impact business results before it's too late. I'd say one of the most popular use cases right now is critical, key, or core employee retention risk, right? Every organization we talk to is really interested in hanging on to that, that top 5, 10, 20% of their employee base that really is key to their businesses. Second, and actually related, is burnout mitigation, right? Helping to ensure employees are able to do their best work. What we see in the data, for example, is that you may find an employee that's spending 30 hours per week, either in meetings or in short amounts of time in between meetings, right? In which case they never can get into flow, right? And so they've got 10 hours to do the equivalent of 40 hours of work. And so if you sort of layer against that the workload, which we can look at based on different systems, et cetera, if they're in customer support, like the number of tickets they had to resolve, for example, you start to look at that. There's just not enough time to go around to basically meet their and accomplish their tasks, and that leads to burnout. That is not a sustainable situation. Another area, as I alluded to, is manager development, like trying to understand the differences between stronger managers with higher retention and those that perhaps need some development. Pay equity is another area, particularly with the impending legislation in states like California. Pay equity reporting is also a key use case. And finally, I think, and we're starting to see more and more of this, connecting talent insights with business key performance indicators like Salesforce productivity, customer experience, and product delivery is an absolutely essential use case. It's really a journey, and you can start with as few as just one system, right? And then you can just, for example, just starting with HR data, and then start to layer on that data from a single business system, and then go from there. And generally, we see sort of the best results when customers start with a specific use case, like they want to focus on critical employee retention in a specific area or function or group or team, right? And starting with a couple of systems. And in terms of setup, it's basically a couple of hours to connect to these systems, because we have API connections, report, et cetera. There's a little time to basically sort of align the data and so forth. And then actionable insights are generally available between a week or on the outside 2 weeks upon receipt of data. So that most of that work is really on our side. So it's really a pretty straightforward approach here. And again, you can start to realize value immediately. It's real time. So as things change, and things invariably change, right? This information is constantly being updated. So new risk areas are identified that you can basically address. We're excited to engage with any customers that are interested in speaking with us. Probably the best way is just to get in touch with us at hello@praisidio.com.